keep forgetting to take the gimbal cover off. So while we're talking, because it is pretty cold out here, I thought it was going to be a nicer day, but while we're talking, I thought I would just get everything powered up. I'm out at a much bigger field. This is a new device. This is something that I've never experienced in my life before, and I know a lot of people, a lot of cocky individuals out there that think, I can just grab something, I can go fly, I can do a video about it, I can, get all those clicks because, I'm either sponsored or, I got a shelf full of them that I can pull from. But that's not me. I pay for this out of my own pocket, and I do care about my equipment, so I'm not trying to destroy it. So the risk has to outweigh the reward. If for some reason I thought crashing one of these things into a tree would pay for this drone, maybe I would try it, but not now. But yeah, today we're out talking about this thing right here. This is the, sorry, my nose is already starting to run. It's cold out here. This is the new DJI FPV's motion controller. I'll try to keep that from in front of my face. And if there was ever like a device that you would say, why do I need this, or who would use this, or what's the thing, like what's the justification for spending $200, this is probably that device. I've been playing with remote control for I don't know how long. I mean, 20 plus years. I mean, I started when I was in my 20s. I'm in my mid 40s now, and this is why I love the hobby. This is what I love about technology. It continues to grow. Is DJI the first one to develop this? No, I believe before this came out, there was some rumor about them being in court about another company who had a similar device, not the device, but a similar device. And of course, when you're the big dog, everybody wants a piece of your pockets. So there was a lawsuit about it. But DJI got it to market first, and they've also come to market with, in my opinion, and I'm going to restart this because I keep forgetting to take the gimbal guard off. They've come to market with this, which is, as you have seen in my previous videos, the new DJI FPV drone. I'm calling it the new DJI Cinematic. You can call it whatever you want. It's your money. But yeah, they came to market with two great products. Usually I will get a DJI product and retire the previous one. So I'm currently retiring the DJI Mini 2. I'm going to pass that on to somebody else who may enjoy it, and I'm going to really get to know this. There's going to be some firmware updates out. I know there's going to be some firmware updates coming out for this because when I went through the settings, in the settings, I found this thing that said something about hyperlapse. This is something that you can't currently do on this, but in the settings, it was like, hey, if you click this switch on, it'll allow you to do this when you do hyperlapse and some of those quick shot modes that I said were missing from this drone in my previous video. But not only is it getting colder out here, it's also getting more breezy. I wanted to give you, a quick first impressions. This is literally a first impressions. I have been playing with the drone, trying to get my stick movements down and get it all tuned in. Again, I'm not one of these guys that's going to take something out of the box and bang it around. That's like irresponsible and stupid, to be, in my opinion. You could just crash it because you don't know what's going to happen. So now that I kind of know how this thing kind of performs, this is going to be a first impression of flying this, and I have seen like 15 videos of guys playing with this thing, you FPV professionals, and they've been playing with it and they were like, oh my God, this thing is amazing. And I'm hoping to get the same sensation out of it, to be honest with you. I'm hoping that I can get, that same wow factor that they got out of it, because flying any kind of aircraft with two thumbs is especially in the wintertime, is a little bit difficult, challenging at times, especially when your hands starting to get cold like they are right now. I don't have to worry about thumbs. I don't have to worry about, being super precise with where I'm moving those sticks. I'm not going to get the same performance. I'm not going to be able to, let me power that back up. I'm not going to be able to do acro, but I'm going to be able to listen to this thing. Wait till my next video when you hear the alarm for when you crash it and you got to go find it. Wait until you hear it. It sounds like a truck horn. It seriously sounds like a truck horn. But I lost my train of thought. So yeah, let's get up in there. Enough talking. Let's just get up in the air and see how it goes. So I just heard everything bind up. In my goggles, it's telling me that I am in Newcastle, which is where I'm at. It's like very close to a small airport. It's just telling me, hey, be aware of your altitude because you're in an altitude zone. Motion controller firmware is out of date, and I just freaking fixed this. I confirmed that. I believe I brought the cable with me. Hopefully I brought the cable with me, if it means that I got to go in and fix this, because I am getting a firmware version issue in the goggles. Did I bring that cable? If I didn't bring that cable, this is going to be a very disappointing thing because I need the cable to do the firmware update and I don't feel it in my pockets. So I don't know. It says that the firmware is out of date and I don't want to fly it right now. That would be irresponsible. I wanted to see what happens. It says if you do this, it arms it up. It armed it up. Okay, I'm going back to taking my, hold on a second. I just realized that the camera, and I'm not probably in vision right now. It armed it up. It's telling me that the firmware is out of date, but I did a firmware update before I left the house and it said it was all good. There's a train going by in the background, so hopefully it's not too loud with this. So I'm going to move this over just a little bit for this takeoff. And what I'm supposed to do is I'm supposed to double tap this and hold it. And it is up. All right, so I should have had my goggles on for this. I'm yelling now because I think I'm yelling over that. I should have had my goggles on for this. And let me just get this in picture real quick. Because in the goggles, there's a little square that tells you where you're supposed to position the center pointer so that you know that you're calibrated when you take off. I want to check that real quick. Let me hit the record button so you can see what I'm recording right now. It's a recording. Okay, it's working. It's moving around and I'm actually recording. So where you work the motion controller is simply rotating your wrist will get the quad to rotate. And right now, I think because I took it off in an opposite orientation, I should have been behind it when I did it because now it's facing the wrong direction and I'm actually standing in front of it. But rotating your wrist gets the quad to rotate. Doing this, which is kind of hard to do. Doing this gets it to turn. Right now it's not turning because I'm not moving forward. Doing this gets it to come down and doing this gets it to go up. I'm gonna give it a quick fly. I told you, I'm not a big risk taker, but it's in the air, so that means it's ready to fly. Let's give it a fly. If I can get it to turn around. Okay, that's how you get it to turn around. You get it to yaw by rotating your wrist, and you do this to make short yaws or rotations, and do this to make turns. Okay, let's give it a fly. Let's just give it a fly. Enough talk. Let's give it a fly. Recording. Right now I am in normal mode. Let's just check the modes that I can go into. I got normal mode. Normal mode. It doesn't do anything but normal mode right now. I was under the impression looking at the instructions that this thing may go into, I think, sport mode, which I can't get into right now for some reason. I can see those props. For some reason I think it's close to me. I can't get into sport mode, but normal mode seems to work. So let's just give it a squeeze on the trigger. Oh yeah, you give the trigger a squeeze and it's off. Okay. Pulling up. It climbs. I hear an airplane, but I don't hear like, and it also seems to adjust the gimbal. It seems like it's adjusting the gimbal more than it is actually adjusting the attitude of the quad. So the quad isn't banging down, the gimbal is banging. But oh my goodness, this is amazing. Wow. And it's, I mean, at this speed, it's still pretty fun. At this speed. At sport mode speed, which I've seen people fly, this thing was an absolute freaking rocket. I'll be scared to fly it around obstacles. So you know how it is in FPV, you tend to walk around or drift around while you're talking. Like you end up backwards after you start off in one direction. That's what I'm doing with this controller. Like I'm going to hit the stop button for a second. I'm doing with this controller is I'm doing all of this crazy stuff. Like I can't, like I think I'm supposed to be holding it like this because there's a little square in the center there, but I tend to be, I'm moving my arm and doing all this. And as you can see, every movement impacts the quad. So again, if I do this, I can rotate with it. There's my home point. There I am over there. We're going to just fly toward me. One thing I can't do with this, I'm assuming, is I can't do, look at those bank turns. Are you kidding me? Look at those bank turns. I can't do orbits with it because there's only, you know, airplane control. Man, this is freaking amazing. I'm still getting firmware update issues, but I don't have the motion controller error. So let's get it up real quick because I see that I'm coming up on some trees and some wires here. Let's get it up higher. Look at the pond over there. Okay, my RC is still good over the golf course. Man, RC on this thing is really good. Still got full bars on this controller that has no freaking antenna on it. Look at this thing, man. Amazing. Amazing. Okay, so I just got the pilot aircraft approaching. We're gonna. So that warning that you're beeping that you're probably hearing is the goggles telling me that there is a manned aircraft in the air. You can probably hear it through my microphone. So we're gonna get that down. Get it back in the field. Yeah, man, the range on this is crazy. I gotta do. I don't want to say it on. I don't know if I want to say it, but I gotta do an experiment to see the effectiveness of these antennas. I'll just put it that way. Okay, so I'm going to try to get a little bit. Right now I'm going to do this. Woo! It drops. Okay, so it drops. Okay, we're going to see how accurately we can pilot this thing. Little wrist turns, kind of adjust to correct a little bit. And right now, like I said, it is in sport mode. Let's get that down to those branches. Okay, we got obstacle avoidance kicking in. Yeah, you could do something with this. Right? Look at that. I mean, there's a little circle in the middle of the screen that kind of tells you the. I don't want to get too close to the ground because it tells you like your attitude that you're at. I guess it's you're pointing you down to. Can I shoot it? So this is where I get a little bit scared here. So we're going to slow this down a little bit because I definitely don't want to bang this. But that little circle in the middle screen is almost like a bullseye. Now I can see that I am literally aiming for this gap right here. Yes, you can aim that bullseye, and it actually helps. That bullseye helps you get through things that you probably would struggle with as a new FPV pilot, trying to figure out your lines. I'm getting a little bit of wind gust effect here. It's pushing it around a little bit. Stabilization on this thing's still pretty good. So man, this is fun. This is fun. This is like when you buy an expensive freaking gadget and you don't want to crash it because of your thumbs. Like right now, my right hand, all of my fingers are frostbit right now. The tips of them are ridiculously gone. I can't feel them. My left hand's in my pocket. But this is fun. So one more last thing I wanted to test because it said that you could do it, and I think I got to go and check the firmware again because I'm still getting firmware issues. I can hear it clicking and rolling. Look how performance-wise it just moves where you want to move it. All right, so it detects me as an obstacle. Again, I'm not even looking at it. I'm looking over here. Let's look at it. All right, so it detects me as an obstacle. I'm gonna rotate it around, and it said that in the goggles that if you wanted to just like rocket straight up in the air, you just point up in the air like this, and it does. But for some reason, it is yawing when I do that. Not sure why. I do get this thing when I point it straight up like this. There's like an arrow that looks like it's pointing up, and then like a compass directional arrow that looks like it's pointing to the left. So I'm gonna take this away from me a little bit. I don't know what the heck this thing is gonna do. But it said if you wanted to just do it like a rocket up, like you wanted to rocket up, you just point it straight up in the air like this, and oh shit, yeah, it works. You hear those motors? Woo! Look how high I am. Yeah, it goes into like a sport mode climb. I wish you could do that with the gimbal facing down. Can it do it with the gimbal facing down? Let's see. It'll come down pretty fast. I can hear the motors fluctuating. Controllable though. Controllable. Yeah, my fingers are gone, man. So yeah, that climb. I wish they could do that climb with the gimbal facing down. I would love to do like a rocket away from myself where you can see myself in the picture while it's pulling out, or even like I can't do like a reverse. Like I would love to be able to like flip this thing into reverse and be able to pull away from myself by squeezing the trigger. That would be some cool firmware updates. And like I said, with for some reason with FPV, while I don't know why, my head keeps rotating to the left, but my feet are still steady. So battery wise, I have 48% battery, and I've been flying this thing for a while. Let's give it one more go. Let's give it one more go around. Squeeze that trigger. Gonna follow this path. I can. Woo. I like it. I like it. It's almost like you want to fly it this way, right? You want to fly it this way because it's so simple, because there's no dual hand gesture movement that you got to do to get it to do a freaking simple turn. but you lose, the compromise is you lose some of that control if you want to kind of do some crazy dive bomby type stuff. But yeah, there's a market for this, for guys who want to go up in the mountains and you know, bang around, like dive bomb mountains and stuff like that without having to control both thumbs, where you're not planning on doing any acro or rolling. I even feel confident enough with this thing because it gives me, it's giving me the very stable control, or very accurate control. Oh, I got somebody out here in the field. Look at that. You can see people in the field with it. Keep it away from them. Get it away from this building. And we're going to bring it back and land it. So, again, if I wanted to turn it around without actually flying it, I just yaw it back by turning my hand. Bring it in. Oh, yeah, one last switch. I don't know if the gimbal control works. There's a gimbal control switch on the side here. Let's see. That does not work. That's where I thought that it would go into like manual mode, because it said that that was to adjust your camera angle. In manual mode, you can adjust your camera angle so that you can get faster or slower speeds, just like regular DIY quads. So we're going to bring it back right about here. Actually, no, what we're going to do, we're going to take it around, because I want to land it on the other side of me. Look at that control, brother. Let's take it a little bit further, because I don't know what it's going to do as I'm bringing it in. I want to see the ground when I'm doing it. It's going crazy for obstacle avoidance. Now we're going to hit the double tap button and land it, or hold the button. I can't find the button. My thumbs are gone. All right, there it is. Let's just turn it around a little bit first so I can see it land. All right, hit it and hold it. Oh, man, that was dope. That was dope. That was fun. It was every bit as thrilling as I've seen other people in videos claim it is. Like, they're just like, oh man, doing this, I would have puckered trying to shoot through that gap on that awning. I mean, that awning in the middle of the field, because I have nothing to guide me through other than my instinct. They say you're too high, you're too low. And as you get closer, you know, that gap is super small when you're, you know, farther away from it, and you know you got to get down to the right altitude. I used to put little crosshairs on the screen so that I could see if I'm kind of aiming in the right direction to get me through gaps. I've since taken that out, but it gives you that there's a little bullseye right in the center of the screen. I wish I can record that somehow. Maybe I'll record it and impose it in, but there's a little bullseye that wherever this points, the drone goes. And then at the bottom of the screen, there's a little marker that shows you, it's almost like an on-screen controller indicator, where there's, you know, crosshair XY axis, and there's a square in the center of that. And when you got this in the center of that, I guess you're pointing straight forward. And then when you move outside of that square, that's when it's going to give it some input. But I got to tell you, this is, like I said, I've had a love-hate relationship with DJI for many years. This makes me proud of DJI. There are still some things that got to be worked out with this. There's still a lot of, like, for instance, I missed the window to get the refresh care. And to get the refresh care, if you didn't know it, you can actually go in and shoot a video showing that your drone is actually in perfect working condition, and they'll give you the refresh care. Can't do it with this one, because in order to prove that, you have to do like a screen recording of your settings menus, that it shows all of the settings are still saying, hey, not crash or working. And then you have to do like a little video while you're still in screen recording showing that the gimbal works. For some reason, they only care about the gimbal. Like, the gimbal has to be working. And then you send them the video, and they're like, okay, here's your refresh care. Can't do that, because there's no way to get into the settings from the phone at this moment. You're only going to get the video feed. I know there's stuff to come. Like I said, going through the settings, I saw that little setting that said, hey, like when you're doing hyperlapse, remember I said, this is a camera drone. This is where you DIY guys don't get it. A GoPro can do so much, right? And you got to keep your hands on the sticks. This thing, while it can do the flips and rolls and the acro, can actually do hyperlapse. It can actually do, if it's anything like any of the other drones, it will be able to do motion tracking, right? So you can put a tracker on yourself while you're following yourself around. It is, while people say it's a newbie drone, this ain't a newbie drone. This drone costs $1,400. And when it's in the wrong settings, it can be very difficult to fly. It is easier for newbies to learn, because you mess up, you take your hands off the sticks, it holds itself there, there's no issues. Get control, bring it back. This is not a newbie drone. Their newbie drone is called a Tello, and it's played with a cell phone with accelerometers, and you can do blocks to build up programming to show this thing do different paths and whatever you want it to do. This is not a newbie drone. This is a, consumer grade drone. And, I'm seeing a lot of people, with a lot, what DJI isn't doing. Oh, DJI made it so you can put the props on backwards. You can put the props on backwards on a DIY quad, and there's nothing to tell you that they're on backwards until the thing either does a runaway shutdown or flips over on you. With DJI drones, because it's got sensors and accelerometers, when it knows you're supposed to be going at a certain angle, it's going to tell you, hey, your props are on backwards. There's a lot about this that you guys don't get. I get it. I was there in that world. I'm in this world now. I'm in both worlds. I'm right there in the middle. But this technology, if you could put this on a DIY quad with a GoPro on it, I guarantee you would freaking love it. So I'm with you. Hopefully the air unit, they update them and they include some of this stuff like electronic image stabilization and maybe, video recording out and maybe controlled by one of these, because if they did, it would be an absolute blast. So, hey, I'm done. I got to get out of this cold. I actually have another battery that I want to fly. It's in the car. Maybe, yeah, I'm not done yet. I'm actually going to put the other battery in, and I'm going to get a little bit more stick time on with the two-stick controller to, before I shoot that video that you guys want to see and end up putting into another tree, or almost putting into another tree again. Play with my Expo a little bit and keep following, and I'll get back to you with more information about the drone and everything else going on with it. A couple firmware updates, new settings. I'm going to make this a series. Talk to you later. Real quick, before I go, don't forget to go check out those big ball FPV tees over on Etsy. Link in the description below.